this morning. Where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
All right, we got a special guest today, Randy Tharp, world champion, Forest Wood Cup champion. Now, Randy, was you a runner-up in the Guntersville Bassmaster Classic? I know you led that thing.
I led it on day one. I was in second on day two, and I ended the tournament in fourth. The third day of the tournament was my weakest one, and a lot of the guys' strongest one. And I'll never forget that one because I still feel, Hank, like that was the one that I let slip away.
Well, I thought you was going to win it. I thought you were going to do like you did with the Forest Wood Cup, seal the deal, and take the trophy home.
Well, I had a good run there for 2 or 3 years, and I can't complain with the way I was fishing at that time. Like if I put my boat in the water, I felt like I had a good chance to win, and I had a chance to win that classic and hold actually the Forest Wood Cup and the classic, in the same calendar year would have been pretty special. So I don't know that's obviously never going to happen again now, but it was an opportunity that I'm thankful that I got to have.
That would have been really special, and you'd got to make some big deposits in the bank. That was a lot of money.
Yes, it was back then. I did get to fish one of the Forest Wood Cups that paid $1 million, and I'm thankful when I won it. It was $500,000, and that's a little more than those tournaments are paying right now. So I was thankful I got it in while the getting was good.
Yeah, $500,000, that's pretty awesome. I know I got to give Scott Suggs his $1 million check in Hot Springs. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Scott's a great guy. I just saw Scott a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact.
Well, let's come up to date. What's Randy Tharp doing these days?
Well, I've been bass fishing a bunch. Right now, I'm fishing the Bassmaster Opens. I just got back from the Kissimmee Chain, which was the MLF Heavy Hitters event that I qualified for last year, which a young angler by the name of Jordan Lee, who's got a couple classic trophies, won that event. And but since I've been home, I've been pretty consumed with trying to catch a big tarpon on fly.
I think that's pretty awesome myself. So you fish for tarpon when you're on your own time, and then you compete on the Bass Opens.
I do take a lot of people fishing, normally red fishing in the fall, but I do have a few tarpon trips booked right now, and I love to do that probably more than anything. To me, it's a pretty difficult challenge. We don't, have as many fish as, say, the Keys, but I believe we have some of the biggest anywhere in the world right here where I live. And, I've gotten pretty good at getting a fly in front of one and getting them to eat the fly. But what I'm working on now is just trying to how to manhandle one of those beasts and get him up next to the boat without him tearing up everything.
Now, tell us where you live exactly, where you're fishing.
I live in Port St. Joe, Florida, so I'm about 15 minutes from Apalachicola. St. Joe Bay is a pretty unique fishery right here, and then if I go further to the west, it would be Panama City. So anywhere from Apalachicola to Crooked Island Sound's kind of where I fish here at home. And we also have that Apalachicola River Delta, which comes out of Seminole, and I bass fish there a pretty good bit.
Yeah, that's a pretty good little stretch of water. I know a little bit about it. But now it's pretty late in the year to have tarpon up there right now, isn't it?
Actually, ours is actually just starting. The migration, the peak of it will probably start hitting here in a couple weeks. Our peak months here is June and July, and you get a little bit in May and a little bit into August, but that's when you're going to see, have those big days where you'll see several hundred fish and, have an opportunity a bunch. Right now, there's not a lot of fish swimming, but they're the biggest ones. I feel like is the first ones you see, and the one I jumped today was a healthy specimen.
Have you caught one on a fly rod before?
The biggest one I've caught was at the end of the season last year, and it was right at 150 is what it taped at. So 150-pound fish. It took me a little bit over an hour to land that fish. I would say somebody that's really good fly fisherman probably could have done it in half the time that it took me. The thing drugged me offshore. I couldn't even see land anymore when I got through fighting that fish. But I think it whooped me worse than I whooped him.
Well, the one and only time that I tried it, I had fly line wrapped around my leg. I had it in the boat, hooked around the cleat. I got broke off every time I ever had one on.
There's a lot of things can go wrong fly fishing for sure.
I'm trying to find something that go right.
Yeah, the only other bass fisherman I know that I know does this, and he even does it up here, is old Shaw Grigsby. And he found out that I lived here, and he still kind of gives me some advice and roots me on, because there's a lot of days you sit out there and beat yourself up, don't even get a shot at a fish. But Shaw's pretty good at it. If you go back to the history of fly fishing, Shaw's fished with some of the best it's ever been. So maybe I'll get to take him one day, or maybe I'll get to take you up here.
Yeah, I need to come down there and ride with you and Shaw. That'd be quite an experience.
Shaw fishes with some of the best fishermen on this coast, so he's got some good people he shares the boat with here.
Yeah, I know about that. And Roland and Scott both, Scott Martin and Roland Martin, are both awesome tarpon fishermen.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever come up here. I've never heard about either one of those guys coming up here. They got some really good tarpon fishing, especially south of where they are there at the lake. All the way down in the Keys is probably, probably one of the best place in the United States for just numbers of tarpon.
Yeah, I think Roland had one break his leg about 15 years ago. Got in the boat with him, green, and roughed him up pretty bad.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, it made me want to stick with bass. I never had one break a bone.
Yeah, I still love bass fishing, Hank. Don't get me wrong. I love fishing the tournament still. I'm fishing, not as many as I was back, 10 years ago, but I still fish a dozen or so tournaments a year. And I still love it. The hardest part for me right now is still just the traveling and being away from my family. So trying to balance that, which anybody that's done this for any length of time figures out the right balance for them. I'm sure, that was something you had to do in the peak of your career as well, is just get that balance right.
That's a hard thing to do. It's just so demanding and so much travel, and you're just never home. And it's so hard to be competitive and take tournaments off. You can't make the classic if you take a tournament off. You can't make the heavy hitters or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, you're right. And, I look back at my career, and when I was the most successful and winning a lot of tournaments, and I felt like I bass fished every single day. I put fishing in front of a lot of things. And in some aspects, I'm thankful I did that, because that's what made me successful. But I also regret a little bit of it too, just because, my family and everything sacrificed that time. And, it's funny how it all works. I look at the really young, really successful anglers right now, and I see that same sacrifice that they're making. They're fishing every single day. They leave one tournament, they go practice for another one. They spend every single day on the water. And I don't know. I think at my age and a lot of the other guys my age, I can just see it. There's a change inside of you, whether it's kids or family or, those priorities, which used to be fishing, aren't fishing anymore. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just part of getting old. I don't know.
Well, you get wiser as you get older. There's no doubt about that.
That's what they say. I do feel like I might be a little smarter than I used to be.
But you're still a kid, man. You're still just a young guy.
Shoot, I do not feel like it. When I tee it up now with these 22 to 30-year-olds, And I know they fish 350 days a year, whatever. They're on the water every day, most of them, and see what they can do at such a young age. It's impressive. I mean, the guys I'm fishing against now are it's a fine bunch of young anglers. And one thing I can say, I think you had a lot to do with it, me being here, and I think my generation of fishermen, you know, there is more people fishing tournaments now, it seems like, than ever before. And it's kind of cool to see. I mean, I don't know what I would have done with high school or college fishing or any of that if we had it when I came up. But it's cool to follow the history of it all from when Ray started Bassmasters to where we're at right now. It's come a long ways, and I would have never dreamed, to be doing it at this age still and be a part of this business and or talking to you on a podcast right now. It's pretty amazing to me.
Well, now, last year you fished Major League Fishing, didn't you?
Yeah, in my career, I spent 5 years fishing the FLW Tour. I spent 5 years on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and I've been at Major League Fishing for 5 years. And then this year I went back to bass and fishing the opens, and I've actually had a ball. I really, it's nothing against Major League Fishing. I just really like fishing a 5 fish limit tournament that we all grew up fishing, and that was my biggest reason for going back to bass.
Yeah, I've heard several people say that, and I told Gary Klein that's where I would be. I learned my whole life numbers didn't get a check. It was 5 big ones. So I trained myself to fish for those 5 big fish, and now all of a sudden it's numbers again. I don't know if I could relearn.
Yeah, I think the 5 years I spent there made me a better fisherman, made me adjust quicker. I mean, with that live scoring, the score tracker going off, like you had to change or you'd be so far behind. I did good. I made all the championships there. I made every heavy hitters that they've had since the beginning. And, I made a decent living there. I'm the kind of guy that I want to go try to catch the biggest fish in a lake. Even if it's a 4-pounder or if it's a 10-pounder, I just want to target the biggest fish in the lake, and that was the biggest reason for the change to me. And honestly, my business is good, and most of the companies I work for, they really don't care where I fish. They just want me to be happy. So it's a good thing. And like I said, it's been a pretty solid start to the year, and I've had a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of companies that you work with, I hooked up with ARC, and I'm amazed at their lures. And I'm going to give you a shout out on that jig. That jig is awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, Hank. Like I've built several jigs. I've been building my own jigs actually since I started bass fishing. And I've had a couple that I built with other companies, and I felt like I was limited a little bit by the hook. And ARC is the first company that let me design the hook. So what I did different is it's a thinner wire, but it's still strong. It's a 30-degree line tie, inline line tie, and it's got an O'Shaughnessy bend, and it's also a Teflon coated hook. So it's a little bit different than, and honestly, I've had the jig a couple years, and I cannot believe the difference that makes. It made a bigger difference than I ever thought it could as far as the way it sticks a fish, the way it pins them, the way it hooks up, and they are selling like crazy. So, I'm actually working on, we've got a 3/4 and a 1 ounce that is kind of a South Texas deep grass Florida thing that I'm working on now, working with some new materials, tying up some new colors. I got about 10 more colors I got to finish in the next few weeks to send to Louis so he can get that stuff built. But ARC's a good company. Louis, the owner of the company, if I can give you a little history, he went to college here. He's got a master's engineering degree, and I have met a lot of cool people since I've been bass fishing. Forrest Wood was one of them. He's like an innovator. I would say Ed Chambers that started Zoom Baits was another one. I think John Olivero that started Power Pole's one, and I think Louis one. I think the guy is just a master tinkerer, and he's obsessed with building things, a better mousetrap to catch a fish. And I threw his name in there with some pretty historic and famous people, but I really see him following that same path as some of those other great industry leaders that's been a part of this industry.
Well, I'm glad that he's given you the liberty to design that jig exactly like you want it, because it's a very impressive jig. The way the eyes turn, the way the hook is shaped, the whole bait itself it's more weedless. It hooks up better. It's a pretty amazing jig, but I'm finding that with all his baits. I mean, his jerk bait, his square bill, so many that I didn't know anything about. When I signed on about the way they looked. And then once I got on the water, I'm blown away at how they perform. They run straight, they run true. The jerk bait suspends perfectly. It's very impressive lineup.
Well, I appreciate it. We've worked hard. I mean, Wes Logan and I have had a lot of input along with Louie. And another difference I can tell you is just we all fish and we're all obsessed with trying to build the best product we can. And I'll tell you, like Louis works 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Sometimes my phone will ring at 2 in the morning, and it's because he's overseas at the hook factory or whatever and needs an answer. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been so successful is I know we're not going to be outworked. And man, I'm just thankful that I've been a part of this since the beginning, and I've watched this company grow from me and him into a pretty powerful force in the fishing industry. So, we got a lot of irons in the fire, got a lot of things we're working on right now, and I think the sky's the limit for where we can go with this company.
Well, tell me when the lure business, when you and Louis hooked up and you got this arc started, when did that start?
I met Louis at ICAST probably 15 years ago, and I think he was working for a hook company at the time, a Japanese hook company. A few years later, he bought into a rod company that I was a part of, and it was a three-way partnership. And then one of the partners became a preacher. So Louis and the other guy had the business for a couple more years, and they sold the business. And prior to them selling it, I knew Louis was thinking about doing something on his own, and that was really when it started. And he had asked me at that time, like, man, I really would like to work with you, to continue to work with you in the future. And the rest is kind of history. We started the company with a rod line, a single rod line. Then we came out with my signature series, which we've been selling now for 5 years, I guess. And then the bait thing came a few years later, which it's just really cool to have some input. And really, it's just a lot of time on the water, and with somebody that listens, it's a lot of time casting into a swimming pool, watching stuff, watching all some of the great lures, what they do and what makes them different, and then trying to build one that's better. And that's really what we've been doing.
So the way you look at that thing is you take a mouse trap and you're going to improve it. You're going to make a better mouse trap.
Well, if we don't feel like we can make it better, then we won't do it probably. But everything we've attempted to try to make better, I feel like we have. So some things that I feel like we really did well was the lipless bait we have. I think is really, really good. I think we got two really good topwater baits in the Outlaw and the Z Pop, and then the jigs right now is it's kind of they're still really selling good compared to hard bait sales right now are down a little bit with all the forward facing stuff. But the jigs people are liking, and I will give you a little glimpse into the future right now. The next project we're working on, and hopefully have it out soon, is a frog. So a lot of good ones out there. So, but we're trying to make one better. And it's no secret. I mean, we're going to build a hook for it and try to make it better that way.
Well, I can't wait to
exciting.
see that. That's going to be interesting. I love to fish a frog, and I'm not real happy with any that I use. I modify every one I got.
Well, I do too. There's bits and pieces I could take from 2 or 3 different ones. And if we can mold that together with the perfect hook, I think we'll have something.
The secret is the hook and the way you angle that hook for that hookup.
Well, maybe I'll call you back and get some input, or I'll send you some of the prototypes and then you give me some feedback.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I tell you, I've got a couple of different little tricks that I do. I fished with some high school guys about 2 or 3 years ago, and they were just opening these frogs out of the packet, and they were missing all these fish. And I mean, they were missing fish after fish. And I said, hey guys, if you don't bend those hooks up, you ain't ever gonna hook up. You got to get that angle where that point's pointing forward. And so they love frog fishing after they started bending the hooks.
Yeah. I don't believe there's one out there that I don't modify as well. So hopefully we can build one that doesn't need to be modified, that the body consistency is the right, firmness, and the hook's the right angle, and it's weighted properly. So all of those things are things that we've already discussed and that we're working on. So and colors too. I don't feel like anybody's got the perfect colors for frogs. So that's another thing that I got some of my favorites that you can't go wrong with, like a black one or a black and yellow one. But obviously I think we can improve in that category as well.
Yeah, I think there could be some more transparent colors.
I agree with you. But yeah, that's something else we're working on at ARC. And like I said, Louis has become a really good friend. I enjoy working with him, and he's probably one of the most loyal people that I have ever met in my life. And I try to take care of him. He takes care of me, and I'm proud of the team we build, and I'm proud to have you on the team now. So.
Well, I'm excited about it, and I'm grateful. I'm in some great company with you guys.
We've got a strong team. I'm really proud of Brandon Cobb, Wes Logan, 2 really talented young anglers that they were. Cobb was really the next person we hired after me, and then Wes Logan kind of earned his spot on our team, and I've been happy to watch those guys' career go from basically a high school or college angler to Elite Series champions now, and watching them contend for Angler of the Year and stuff like that is pretty cool, because I feel like they're my family too now. So.
Well, it is cool. Be a mentor is a big deal. So they're looking up to a great guy and looking up at Randy Tharp.
Well, they keep me young. They make me feel young hanging around with those guys since they're half my age.
So what is the future for Randy Tharp? You going to be a lure designer and a tarpon fisherman, or are you going to hang in there on the bass circuit?
Man, Hank, if I knew what I wanted to do next, I would have probably done it already. I know Gary and Teresa at Phoenix would probably hire me to go to work for them at the plant. Another company I work for, Bass Boat Technologies, Van, I mean, he would hire me in a second. I was his first employee too, and he's built that business now too. He's got like 26 full-time employees. That's pretty cool. And Louis would hire me as well. But I'm doing some trips here at the house, some guiding and stuff like that. I like that. So I don't know. I was a trim carpenter before all of this started, and I still enjoy doing some of that. So there's no telling what I may do. I'm still 55. I could probably fish a few more years if I want to, but we'll see. I really don't know. Those are my options, though. I kind of laid out. What do you think I should do?
I think you should stay with ARC. I think you could keep designing baits, get this frog perfect. I think you need to get me and Shaw down there catching a tarpon. And we'll test the frog while we're tarpon fishing. We'll tarpon fish during the day, and late afternoon we'll go test the frog.
Well, this is one of the few places in the world we could probably catch an 8 or 9 pound bass and a tarpon in the same day.
I like that. That's my kind of place.
Yeah, I discovered this place about 20 years ago, and it's just kind of I've been lucky to travel all around the world and fish, but I still love fishing here. That's why I live here, and we do have some great bass fishing here, just within 15 minutes of my house, and we don't get snook here or don't get a lot of permit or bonefish, but if we had snook here, I believe it'd be the perfect place.
Yeah, I like those snook myself. So let me say, you lived in Birmingham, Alabama. You started fishing on the tournament circuit, started fishing FLW, fish bass, and so that afforded you the opportunity to live anywhere you wanted to live.
That's right. That's right. I remember distinctly my wife and we've been married 30 years. And before we ever got married, we used to vacation down here. And we started at Gulf Shores. We kind of started working our way east. And then we found this place and we never went anywhere else. And we bought our first place down here in 2007. The economy was pretty, wasn't great. So we got a pretty good deal on our first house, and we built several more houses down here and got some rental property. And I don't know, I love it here. And it's a place I call home. It's a really small town. It's not like what most people picture Florida being. Well, we have bears walk on our beach, so it's not real populated. It's becoming more popular, but yeah, there's not too many places where black bears are you see them every Thursday when you put your trash out.
Well, that's pretty cool. But I think it is awesome that a guy had a dream of being a bass fisherman, had the success that you've had, the discipline you had to be successful, and we talk a little bit about that because you're never home, you make a lot of sacrifices, but at the end result, all that work, it gave you the opportunity to afford to live where you want to live, and that's very special.
Yeah, I agree. I've been very blessed. Sometimes I can't explain it, but they just bite the end of my line and at the right time in the right tournament. It doesn't seem like it happens as much as it used to, but sometimes I just want to go home and kind of just miss a cut. And then at 2:30 in the afternoon when I'm doing it 3, a 5-pounder will bite and you end up fishing another day. It's just the way it is.
You can say anything you want to about success, but when you fish Major League Fishing with all that competition and you made the heavy hitters every single year you competed, that's a big statement.
Yeah, there's some good fishermen there. It's been an honor throughout my career to compete against some of those guys, and a lot of them you competed against too. Like fishing against Kevin last week in his last tournament, like that he'll compete in, like that. I don't know. There's Aaron Martins. The list goes on and on. The Shaw Grigsby's, Denny Browers. I was lucky enough to fish against him a few times. I'll never forget fishing against those guys, and definitely competing against the best is one thing that always made me get up at 3 in the morning and fish till you can't see your hand in front of your face anymore, was trying to beat guys like that.
Iron sharpens iron, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Well, man, I really do appreciate what you're doing with ARC, and what a privilege it is for me to be a small part of your guys and your team, and I look forward to seeing this new frog, and I can't wait to get those heavier jigs. I like to punch a little bit myself, so we'll get all that going, and I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing and wish you the best, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Well, Hank, been a pleasure, and I've always looked up to you. Like when I first got into this whole thing, like never forget your classic wins and you being on that stage, and then watching your show over the years. Um, you've been an inspiration to somebody like me, and I don't know that without guys like you and Bill Dance and Roland Martin, if I would be here today. So thank you.
Well, you have sure contributed a bunch to our sport. You've made it a better place to be, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Hank. I appreciate you guys having me on. You give me a call anytime. Those tarpon are waiting.
All right, I'm coming down. I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna hook one. I'm not gonna promise you I'm gonna catch it, but I'm gonna hook one.
That sounds good.
Oh, goodness.
All right, my buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh. Well, man, that is Randall Tharp, Sarah Beth.
He seems like quite the cool guy.
He is one great guy. It's pretty cool to be able to work with somebody with his insight on how to design a lure.
That is really neat, especially in your field of work.
Well, I like people that take starting from nothing and build it up. The way he turns the eye on the jig, little things make big difference. But ARC as a whole has some incredible baits, and I think a lot of that's got to do with Randy Tharp. It's hard for me not to call him Randall. The whole time I knew him, the first time we introduced him on the Forest Wood Cup stage, it was Randall Tharp. Now for me to say Randy makes it a little bit hard.
Yeah, there you go, first name basis.
Well, we talk about bait designs and talk about lures as tools, and it makes a lot of difference. Little subtle things make big differences in baits.
Absolutely.
You know, the way a bait quivers has got a lot to do with how it performs in cold water. Mm-hmm. The way it has a wide wobble and displaces a lot of water, draws fish from a great distance in warmer water when fish are more aggressive.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see that frog that he's talking about coming out with.
Yeah,
that's really exciting.
I'm impressed with ARC as a whole, and Randall's got a lot to do with that. Randy. He's got a lot to do with why that bait is what it is.
That's awesome.
It's exciting times in the bait business, it's exciting times in the fishing world. And I didn't get off and ask him what he thought of forward facing sonar, so I was glad that we got through one podcast without going into forward facing sonar.
I know, that's one for the books.
So Sarah Beth, let me ask you, what do you think of forward facing sonar?
Oh gosh, I could write a whole essay about it, honestly.
Well, this has been a good time for me. I haven't got to see Randy in probably 15 years, other than just passing at ICAST. So to be able to sit down and talk with him and talk about ARC and what they got going on and what he's got going on. Mm-hmm. He's moved over from Major League Fishing over to bass. He's spending a lot of time tarpon fishing and having fun, doing things he loves to do. So it's all been good.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to go down and tarpon fishing.
Yeah, hook 'em. Tarpon
fish with Randy Tharp.
There you go. Randy.
Yeah, and we'll test some frogs with Randall Tharp.
His professional, that's his ARC name.
Yeah, it's all going to be good. So, Sarah Beth, tell everybody that we for sure appreciate them being with us today. And
I appreciate everybody being with us today, and check out in the description, Huckleberry Apparel.
Hey, Huckleberry Apparel, don't miss that. Bye-bye and thanks, and God bless you. We'll see you next time. I'm Hank Parker.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.